Silver and gold had a crappy week, and we're going to cover that in this video. But we need to talk about some major, interesting news stories that developed this week that will give us a clue as to where the price of the precious metals is heading. It'll also give us a clue as to how we might be affected in other ways in the coming future. Things are getting extremely interesting in the economy, with the Fed, with the precious metals prices. Let's talk about all of it, and let's do it right now. Gold investors got punched in the face this week, down $50 to $1,750 per ounce. Let's not forget, gold is only about 10-15% range away from its all-time high. So while this price, we're not happy with it, it's not that horrible. And as conditions change to become more dovish on the macro environment, we definitely could see some good days ahead for us gold investors. Now, silver, on the other hand, had a horrible week, ending out at $19 per ounce. It started the week around $21 per ounce. Yes, your math is correct. That was a full 10% decrease in the price of silver. It got whacked on the macro level two ways: a strong dollar, and there's this renewed awareness that maybe we're heading into a recession, and silver's an industrial metal used in electronics, automotive, solar panels, and there's going to be decreased demand, blah, blah, blah. I think this week's move down in silver was maybe just a tad exaggerated. And the mining stocks were giving silver a run for its money. The gold mining stocks and the silver mining stocks both down around 10% for the week. Hey, the only thing worse was Bitcoin. It was down about 15% for the week, 16% from around $25,000 per Bitcoin earlier in the week, all the way down to $21,000 per Bitcoin, a far cry from Bitcoin's all-time high of 67,000 to 21,000. It's almost like it's a junior precious metals mining stock. And probably the biggest thing that hurt the precious metals this week is a strong dollar. The DXY index closed at 108. It was up about 2%, actually a little more than 2% for the week, because the US dollar is so strong. The US economy is so strong. The financial condition of the United States of America is so solid. The US dollar continues to shine. Well, that is against the euro and the yen. And finally, the S&P 500 closed the week down about 1% as well. Hey, that's enough of all the downs. That is, unless you want to come down to Ron's basement, where you are always welcome. You are important. I honor and feel privileged when you come join me here in the basement. You're always welcome here. You can subscribe to my channel, give the video a thumbs up, turn on the bell notification, share the video with anyone you like. And don't forget, please, leave a comment, good, bad, and otherwise, in the comment section below, because that's where we can all learn about each other and from each other. Now, let's move on to some major news stories impacting gold and silver and just our lives in general. Silver and gold receive a significant amount of their price impact from the policy of the Federal Reserve. This week, we got the Federal Reserve minutes released from their latest convention they had, and they were kind of dovish and they were kind of hawkish. And that is exactly what we're getting from the Fed governors as they spoke this week. It's the battle of the Fed. This guy in St. Louis, where the heck is St. Louis? James Bullard is always opening his mouth, and he's a hawk. You know, he's squawking like a hawk. We need to raise rates. We need to raise rates. That's bad for silver and gold. But across the state in Kansas City, Missouri, their Fed governor talked with more of a dovish tone. So it's the battle of the Feds, and it's happening in the middle of Missouri, for crying out loud. And these guys can't even come to a conclusion as to whether or not we're in a recession. You know, Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen at the Treasury, they don't really think we're in a recession, maybe a transition. Maybe they need to consider depression. Because when you talk to Stifel Nicholas, another company headquartered in St. Louis, coincidentally, they did a survey of 70 business executives throughout the country, and 97% of them said we are either in a recession or barreling toward one. And all this happening when we get Empire State Manufacturing numbers. The New York State Manufacturing Index this week came out, and it was the second lowest in history. We've got consumer debt at all-time highs. Oh, we forgot to mention inflation, 9% minimum, right? Many people think 15, 20% is the real true number. And 62% of Americans are worried about being able to pay their housing expenses next year. And on top of that, something that affects each and every one of us, housing, shelter, we got a barrage of horrible news this week. New housing starts cratered, while at the same time the cost to build a house, despite plunging lumber prices, the cost to build a house has continued to skyrocket. The Goldman Sachs Housing Affordability Index is at an all-time low. That means houses are more expensive for people to buy than any other time in history, less affordable than any other time in history. We had like 60,000 plus real estate deals fall through, like people that had committed to buy walking away. That was also a record. Things don't look good in the housing market. We've got a record number of decreases in asking prices on current listings. If you're in the market to buy a house, be careful. If you're thinking of selling, be careful. This is an interesting time in housing, an interesting time in the economy in general. And when this is all recognized, when it all comes together over the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have another crisis, most likely. We'll have something go on that will cause the Federal Reserve to reverse their stance, to start saying, well, maybe we need to stop being so hawkish. Maybe we need to start thinking about more accommodative monetary policy, which is nectar to the ears of gold and silver investors, because that's when the price will take off. Some very interesting gold and silver news this week came out when Russia announced that they want to start their own pricing center, their own trading center in the East for all the precious metals, gold, silver, platinum. That's generally been controlled in London and the United States, the LBMA, the London Bullion Marketers Association, something like that. But now Moscow, China, the BRICS nations, who are also starting their own reserve currency, want to have their own pricing center, their own trading center for precious metals. And they bring up a very pertinent point. They produce about 65% of these metals anyway, and they want to back this new world reserve currency they are developing with more real assets. This could get very interesting very, very quickly. Also, Zimbabwe, who has been plagued by runaway inflation over the last decades, has been issuing gold coins in their fight on inflation, gold coins that can be used based upon the market price of gold within their economy, and it's working so far to keep inflation in check. Finally, extremely interesting news. India is on target, on track to import 8,200 tons of silver. That's over 260 million ounces of silver this year. Investment demand in India for silver is through the roof. Let me remind you, the world only produces about 850 million ounces of silver per year. The Indians are on track to take 250 million of that 850 million. If my mathematical mind is correct, that would leave 600 million ounces for the rest of the world. Don't forget, between solar and electric vehicles, that's projected to eat up 250 million. There's all the other investment demand from around the world. Things could get very interesting for silver. Breaking news, we have a visitor right here above my shoulder. Pippi the silver cat. Did you see that? When I was talking about silver, Pippi showed up. Just a reminder, Pippi is a cat that we got 3 years ago. She was brown when we got her. I talked about silver so much that her coat turned to silver. And let's wrap up with some world news, some geopolitical news. Let's be a little worldly. There were moves this week between North Korea and Russia, cementing their bond with each other. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un in North Korea seem to be becoming even closer buddies. The Chinese economy is taking a fall, slowdown, recession, and they actually went to a very extreme measure and lowered interest rates in China this week. While in the United States and the West, they're talking about needing to raise rates. The Chinese are lowering their rates. Also, an astounding producer price index number out of Germany. 37.2%. That's right, not 37.1, not 37, 37.2% PPI index. Inflation is out of control in the West. Hey, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you know that you're always welcome here in Ron's Basement. I am looking forward to seeing you again. And until next time, you, yes, you, be well.